it's this battle here. Like, we're trying to raise awareness for man-made global warming, call it whatever you want, man-made climate, man-made atmosphere, whatever. And it's like, we're actually laying it out how it's dangerous to humans. And they sit here and they say, oh, you can't drive a car, or you shouldn't fly in an airplane. And they ignore, like you said, the elephant in the sky. Fake polls, fake hate crimes. It's all part of the clown world, ladies and gentlemen. I've got breaking clown world news. The crew just handed me this. I don't even know if I want to just tease this or just mention it right now, but let's just do this. We've got breaking clown world news. We're going to get to it in the bottom of this hour. But as InfoWars told you, as we predicted, Desmond the Amazing would be used as a marketing ploy to the youth to sexualize the youth abnormally and to say it's normal tolerant. And the story is at newswars.com. I'm just going to tease it right here, do a radio tease. I won't even read the headline, but we're going to have this coming up. More Clown World news, InfoWars next year's news today. I mean, it's just unbelievable, folks. Please support us at InfoWarsStore.com so they don't erase us. Please go to InfoWarsStore.com and buy some toothpaste, buy a hat, buy a T-shirt, buy a supplement, buy shampoo, buy the body wash. Please just go support us. We just want to exist. We want to have a platform. And I'm sorry, we're just the best. That's why they shut us down. And it's not even me or Alex or David Knight. We're just the host. We get the best guests. We get the best callers. We have the most active audience. Oh my gosh, I'm such a fool. I didn't even mention the InfoWars Army is so powerful now. They just put out a promo. They just put out their own promo. The InfoWars Army is now totally sentient. I have relinquished control. You are in control now. You are sentient. You are the intelligence. And they just did a promo video, and I don't even know if I sent it to you, Savannah. It's okay. But anyway, please support us at InfoWarsStore.com, folks. Don't let them erase us. Please do not let them erase us. Imagine a world without InfoWars. It'd be a sad, sad thing. And we get the best guests, ladies and gentlemen. Dane Wigington from Geoengineering Watch came highly recommended. We got him on. He's a regular monthly guest now. And so, Dane, I was getting into some stuff, and this isn't one of the things that I'm most researched on, but I dabbled. There's other people that do more of the physical observation of this, and that is they spray, the cloud seeding and the geoengineering and everything, and there's some days where you can actually see it. Now, I don't know how prevalent it is by your research, but I know you want to talk about this, but you can see some days the layer, and I don't know, maybe it depends on the atmosphere at the time and, dew point and humidity and all of this other stuff, but there's times where you can see in the atmosphere where our atmosphere is cut off, and there's a thin, it's like a veneer, like a thin layer over the atmosphere, and at the right time, if the sun or the moon's in the right place, you can actually see like a filament. Now, other people have documented this and kind of observed this physically, but what do you know about this or these observations, Dane Wigington, Geoengineering Watch?
Let's put a science term to what you're describing, Owen. The term is called global dimming. We have global dimming statistics now scientifically verified that, depending on the study, between 20 and 30% of the sun's direct rays that reached the planet's surface 50 plus years ago now no longer do. And again, this is the express stated purpose of climate engineering operations, solar radiation management, to block some of the sun's incoming thermal energy. Now, we know there's many, many more agendas being carried out. And certainly, as we stated in the last exchange you and I had, there's no benevolence in these programs. And not only are they not affecting or mitigating the climate changes on our planet, they're actually further fueling those changes overall. Last exchange we had, we discussed the engineered winter weather events. I forwarded to InfoWars one article example link from Popular Science. Chinese scientists engineered catastrophic winter events. So this is business as usual, and it's important for people on the climate engineering issue, again, to understand that the weather whiplash, and you've seen some of the weather whiplash events correct, where you have perhaps 80, 90 degrees on one day and then it snows the next day? You've witnessed some of that probably in Texas too, right?
Well, it's actually funny, Texas, and I've only really lived in Texas and in Austin, Texas, and St. Louis, and it's strange because it seemed like it was kind of a normal thing in St. Louis to have crazed weather, and then I got down here and it was kind of like the same thing, and it's like two cities where you could have, like you said, 90-degree one day, and the next day it could be snowing or freezing cold, icy rain.
Well, let's back this up, because many people that have lived 40, 50, 60 years think, well, this happened decades ago when I was younger. We need to remember that these programs have been fully deployed for over 70 years. So unless one is very up there in their years, they probably have not experienced, quote, truly natural weather. I want to break this down further, Owen. Climate engineering, aka geoengineering, is nothing less than weather warfare. Because these elements are highly toxic, it's nothing less than biological warfare. So as you described, these materials you see in the air that block the sun, and you're exactly correct, creates a scientific scenario called global dimming. Let's try to consider the amount of materials it takes to do that. And the stated objective by the world's most recognized geoengineer, Dr. David Keith from Harvard, who is the public disinformation mouthpiece for geoengineering, he has stated on film and on the record the objective of injecting 10 to 20 million tons of aluminum nanoparticulates into the atmosphere annually every year. That's an unimaginable amount of materials, and the smaller the materials, the more lethal they are to the human body and the entire web of life. So we're talking about these materials in our air column all over the globe that all of us get to inhale with every single breath we take. So again, this is not just weather warfare, it's also biological warfare, and it's high time the climate engineering community showed the courage and the backbone to acknowledge this geoengineering elephant in the sky.
Well, and I wish, and this is kind of it's almost the parody of it all, is the biggest loudmouths against man-made climate change are actually ignoring. I mean, it's really just a man-made climate. I mean, we're already in a man-made climate. Man-made climate change is just a joke at this point. We're in the man-made climate. It's totally controlled already. So it's like, it's this battle here. Like, we're trying to raise awareness for man-made global warming, call it whatever you want, man-made climate, man-made atmosphere, whatever. And it's like, we're actually laying it out how it's dangerous to humans. And they sit here and they say, oh, you can't drive a car, or you shouldn't fly in an airplane. And they ignore, like you said, the elephant in the sky.
What's important to remember, again, any form of human activity that alters the energy balance of the planet must be considered a form of geoengineering. That being said, as you just correctly stated, and as we discussed in the last episode, there can be no legitimate discussion about the state of the climate without discussing climate engineering first and foremost. Now, I sent to InfoWars another image. It's called a departure from normal high temperature map. And where are the most anomalously less warm places on the entire planet? I don't want to say anomalously cold, they're less warm than the rest of the planet. The countries with the largest militaries, there you go, that's the image. So where do we see the less warm areas? The industrialized, militarized countries of Western Europe and North America, Canada and the US. Those are the most anomalously less warm places on the entire planet. And this is what many people don't realize. With the engineered cool downs, most can't imagine it's any different anywhere else in the world. So when you can cool off all the Western European nations and you can cool off the most populated portions of the US, you create a perception of the world that is not accurate. In that,
well, let me ask you this, because we're about to go to break, because I can't. You went there, and I was actually thinking this, and the crew always likes to goon me by pulling up these pictures. But I was in Puerto Rico, and I got this sunburn when I was in Puerto Rico, and it was shocking to me. I quit wearing sunscreen a couple years ago. I mean, I usually fry once or twice when I do this in summer because I've got pretty light skin. But once I've fried a couple times, it doesn't bother me. I assume that risk instead of the sunscreen. But when I was down in Puerto Rico, I got a sunscreen. I got a sunburn and fried in a matter of minutes, where it would take me hours in Texas. Because I know my body enough to know when I am going to get sunburnt. It was like in Puerto Rico, the sun was just like boom, and the temperature wasn't even as hot. In Texas, I could be out there in hotter weather and not get a sunburn. Do you think that's from the atmospheric chemicals and everything?
We don't think, we know. The single greatest factor creating ozone layer destruction is climate engineering. Scientific data bears that out. Let me put this in stark perspectives, hopefully before the break. if we had no other problems on the planet, if we didn't have all the other converging cataclysms that are facing us from damage that's been done to the planet, if we only had ozone depletion to face, that issue alone is an existential threat in the next decade.
All right, let's cover that on the next side. We'll be right back. It's getting pretty crazy out there, ladies and gentlemen. I'll tell you this. I think, yeah, I'd say June. I'd say next month. Buckle up, buckaroo. We're about to hit the throes of the 2020 presidential election. We're about to hit the throes of the deep state being exposed, the declassification of the FISA documents, the Horowitz report, the Huber report, a Barr investigation. I mean, wow. Now, Dane Wigington, my guest from Geoengineering Watch, wants to get into some of the fraud happening at the universities right now, but I first wanted to ask him, and we can get into that, but I first wanted to ask him if there was any correlation, because you brought this up earlier, the winter storm phenomenon we saw kind of in, I guess it was what you would call the the upper Midwest kind of, and then it was almost in the exact same area where you saw a torrential rainstorm result in a bunch of flooding here recently too. Is there any connection to those events, Dane, or is that just a weather anomaly?
Climate engineers control the flow of precipitation, Owen. That's imperative to understand. And they need excessive precipitation in order to chemically ice nucleate, in order to create surface cool downs, in order to facilitate a certain perception of the climate that doesn't match the planet as a whole. Before the break, you happened onto an extremely important topic, the sunburn that you felt. Many people feel the increased intensity of the sun. They convince themselves they're just getting older or more sensitive. That's not the case. In regard to ozone layer destruction, the single greatest causal factor is climate engineering. And this is yet another hypocrisy with official agencies, with the major environmental groups and activism in the global warming community. They are not acknowledging that climate engineering, again, single greatest source of ozone layer destruction. And to put that into perspective, as I alluded to before the break, on the current course, on the current rate of ozone layer destruction, we are looking at a probable total ozone layer collapse by 2025 or 2026. If that happens, game over. We are already on the surface, game over for all terrestrial life and most aquatic life on the planet. So we're already getting extraordinarily high readings of UVB radiation, several hundred percentile points above what we're being told. And we're getting UVC on the surface, Owen. UVC is the last spectrum of UV radiation before X-ray. We have a former NASA contract engineer that has worked for us with equipment we supplied him that was metering the UV radiation. It is not being disclosed. It is not being reported. And I'll finish with this. Here's the immense insanity with climate engineering. The more the climate engineers destroy the ozone layer, the more they ramp up their climate engineering operations as mitigation for the damage that their operations did in the first place. Is that not true insanity?
Well, that's where I wanted to go with this. I mean, it could have reached a point where they figured all this out a while ago, and they said, oh my gosh, we've created this destruction of the ozone. We can't reverse it. Now we just have to keep doing it to try to control it ourselves. I mean, because I would believe, all life is incredible, but even the earth is self-correcting. They could have stopped and everything would have corrected itself, but it's like they've gone so far now, they have to do it just to maintain any stability.
You're quite correct. In fact, the planet is literally in a climate engineering straitjacket. And as you correctly stated, it cannot respond to the damage being done while climate engineering is going on. And these programs, again, would be to expose and stop them would be the single greatest leap we could take in the right direction. And as they continue ongoing to try to mask the damage, much of which was done by their programs to begin with, they're quite literally pounding the nails into our collective coffins as we continue on. And again, this is in addition to toxifying every breath we take, derailing the hydrological cycle, destroying the ozone layer. That's why we at Geoengineering Watch are focused on this issue, because of all the challenges we face. If we don't face and deal with this issue, the complete hijacking of Earth's life support systems and the breathable air column, which we all need every moment of our lives to sustain our lives, if we don't deal with this assault on those systems, we're done. It's that simple. So it's up to all of us to bring these issues to light. And it's important to remember, Owen, there's also the strategic use of weather warfare. And an example of that would be after 9/11, we had General Wesley Clark state on the record the Middle Eastern countries that were going to be on the hit list, if you will. And it's not a coincidence, it's not nature that each one of those countries has undergone a once in 1,000 year drought since that time. That's climate engineering operations cutting off their precipitation. Now, we have to consider they're doing the same thing to the US West right now, our own country. So for those who think that these operations are not being used against the American citizenry, that is absolutely incorrect. And we have many layers to this issue. We have weather trading derivatives, those that are profiting off the disasters. We have strategic interests, but the bottom line is the U.S. population is being subjected to what amounts to weather warfare and biological warfare from these programs right now.
Well, and I mean, there was all of these crazy forest fires. In fact, I think it's the top 4, I want to say, forest fires in California are I think, or maybe top 4 of the top 5 maybe, are all from the last couple of years. And it really makes you wonder when you see some of the patterns in these fires too. But it's like, again, it all comes back to this, Dane. I'm done being lectured by Hollywood, by politicians, by whoever, these ne'er-do-wells that, oh, we are killing the planet by driving cars and flying airplanes. And then they hop on their car and then go find a big jumbo jet. And then they ignore the chemicals that are being sprayed in mass every day in our environment. I mean, what is this level of deception where people can even look up and see these lines, these patterns in the sky, and just think, oh, that doesn't affect anything. There's nothing to see there.
That level of hypocrisy is inexcusable. And I don't think any of us can deny that the human race as a whole has been a poor steward of the planet. But that being said, the climate engineering operations, the willful attempt to hijack Earth's life support systems is the single greatest assault of all. And for that assault to be ignored categorically by the types of people you describe, and including official agencies, including academia, it's absolutely inexcusable. And with each passing day, it becomes harder and harder to hide climate engineering. And again, of all the challenges we face, Owen, if we don't face this issue, we don't deal with this issue, we're done. It's that simple. And on the wildfires, I would encourage your listeners to go to geoengineeringwatch.org on the homepage, top toolbar, search engineering wildfires. No question in the case of the wildfires, geoengineering is the single greatest causal factor, period. And we believe the geoengineers are actually utilizing wildfire smoke to further load the atmosphere with particulates to provide a temporary cooling effect for the polar regions in some of the hottest periods of our summers. We have very detailed information regarding this. We have scientific study that states on the record that that is advantageous in the eyes of the climate engineers. So the level of insanity we're dealing with right now and the immediacy of the consequences if we don't stop this current trajectory can't be overstated.
Dane Wigington, geoengineeringwatch.org. Always great to have you folks. Go watch his videos before they try to block him, and Geoengineering Watch on YouTube and all their social media. So geoengineeringwatch.org is where you can find all of the information from Dane Wigington. Thank you so much for joining us today, Dane.
Thank you, Owen. Thank you to InfoWars.
That's why they want us banned, folks. They don't want you to get that powerful information from Dane Wigington. You know, Geoengineering Watch, they just do their research. They show you the images. They show you the studies. I mean, how dare they? How dare they?
DNA Force Plus, our most advanced formula yet. DNA Force Plus is focused on overhauling your body's cellular engines and supporting your optimal energy levels while adapting your body to handle the daily bombardment of toxins. DNA Force Plus contains a combination of the best adaptogens on the market to help your body adapt and bend, not break. Hand-picked adaptogen herbs help protect your body on a cellular level. It's time to try the newest version of one of our most powerful formulas yet with DNA Force Plus. Available at InfoWarsLife.com today.
There are thousands of ideologies out there, hundreds of different political systems, and most of them are funded by the globalists. InfoWars is truly the tip of the spear of the zeitgeist. That's why the globalists are obsessed with it, trying to shut it down. I didn't invent all this. I went and researched the Renaissance, Americana, and what really works for humanity, and I'm simply trying to bring it back. And lo and behold, it's super popular like it's always been. That's why the globalists are trying to shut it down so desperately, because we have the light in the dark of the night. That sends chills up my spine. So whatever you do, continue to support yourself and InfoWars by buying the great products at InfoWarsStore.com, by spreading the articles, by spreading the videos, and by praying for this operation and for praying for this nation and the world for peace and discernment. For myself and the whole InfoWars family, I want to thank all of you for what you've done, because without you, InfoWars is nothing. You are the InfoWar, and I salute you.